writing vlog. I am filming this over MLK Day weekend, so I have off on Monday and I'm gonna try to continue editing my sequel. As I said in my last vlog, I am currently in the part of the editing process where I am sick of rereading my own words and I hate everything. I feel like this is part of the process and most authors experience this at a certain point. But I am trying to power through and also use the text-to-speech feature in Microsoft Word so that when I'm going over what I already wrote, instead of just reading it the same way that I have over and over and over, I can use the voice to listen to it and just have somewhat of a different experience. In case you're new here, hi, my name is Jackie and I am the author of The Cloak and Dagger Club, a 1930s Agatha Christie inspired historical mystery coming out July 14th with an imprint of Penguin Random House, and I am currently working on the sequel to the book in advance of my deadline with my publisher in April. So if you want to follow along and hear more about my writing and editing process and what it's like working with a traditional publisher, make sure to hit subscribe. So as I mentioned in one of my earlier vlogs when I was drafting this book, there is a section that takes place at a restaurant. And originally I was going to say that they all went to the Criterion, which was a real place, I think it actually may still exist, in London. They had food, music, dancing, a rooftop garden, but I was having a hard time finding out concretely what the Criterion would have looked like in 1931. So I decided, let me just kind of use the Criterion for inspiration, but not name the place where they are. I'm now up to that chapter in the book, chapter 13. And I want to add some more description because my agent did say that she wanted some more glamour and 1930s details. So I think I've actually figured out a good solution here. I'm not going to say that it's the Criterion because I can't fact check what the Criterion looked like in this exact year. But I went to the Agatha Christie wiki to look up what are some restaurants that have been mentioned in Agatha Christie books, because there are several pages on here about fake restaurants that she mentioned in her various works. And apparently in The Pale Horse, which I have read The Pale Horse, I just don't remember this, it is mentioned that Mark and Ermia go to a restaurant in London called The Fantasy, Fantasie. And I think I'm going to use that name. I'm going to copy that because I think that sounds like a glamorous name for a restaurant. So I can give the place a name, but I don't have to worry about fact-checking what I'm describing because I'm making it up. It's going to be 1930s specific, obviously, but I don't have to fact-check. Oh, did the Criterion actually have this room in that year? I can just make it up. That's not a real place. For the day now. It is extremely cold out here, especially for Florida. But guys, I got 2 blurbs for the Cloak and Dagger Club this morning. They got sent in within minutes of each other. So excited. I will share them with you later, but I was so nervous about blurbs. Freaking out, what if nobody wants to blurb my book? And I got 2. Now back home after being out all day, I am closer to 40,000 words in this edit than 30 now. I did get 2 blurbs today. They both came in within minutes of each other, so this is so exciting. I was freaking out about my blurbs just a few weeks ago, worried that nobody was gonna blurb my book and it was gonna be published with no blurbs on it, but I got 2 really nice blurbs, very kindly worded, so that is a huge weight off me. I also know one of the other people who agreed to blurb my book is currently reading it, and she messaged me to let me know that she was loving what she read so far, which is so appreciated. And another person actually DM'd me today to say, oh, I started reading the book on NetGalley and I love it. You're such a great writer, which, like, thank you. This makes me so happy that, like, other people are actually reading my book and enjoying it. Now, in terms of getting through this edit, I kind of realized today that I really don't have that much time left because it is currently, at the time of filming, mid-January. The book is due to my editor April 1st, I believe. And obviously I'm going to edit it with my editor, but that's when I have to have something in her inbox. My agent has told me that I could probably get an extension, but I think there's no reason why I can't do it by April 1st. So I really just want to, like, try to push myself and get it done. It doesn't have to be perfect, obviously, by the time I give it to my editor, but I really want to implement all of my agent's changes and hopefully have time to give it back to my agent one more time so she can let me know what she thinks. Like I said, I've really been hating my book recently. I've been sick of rereading it. I've been like, am I even good at writing? I don't know. Having an identity crisis. But I honestly think that's just because I've been working on it for so long. It's feeling familiar and not fresh because of how long I've been working on it. But what I've been doing recently is, as I'm editing the chapters, I've been using the read aloud feature so that instead of having to just physically reread the chapter, I could listen to the little automated voice in Word read it to me. And I think that is helping tremendously because it is sort of adding a degree of freshness, because instead of reading it with my eyes, I'm listening to it with an unfamiliar voice. And I think this is really helping me hate the draft a little less. I really do think it's going to be fine, but since I only have about 2.5 months left and I do want to get back to my agent one more time, I'm going to try to put a little more pressure on myself now to really put the pedal to the metal and focus on working on this more. I feel like this editing experience has been the most interesting, let's say, for me, because I do feel like I have physically rewritten a lot. Like yesterday, I rewrote 1,000 words, but I'm not fundamentally changing the book. Like, I added a couple of scenes, rewrote a couple scenes, but even though I'm, like, reorganizing things or adding to things, it's not like I'm doing a total overhaul of anything. But I do feel like I am rewriting a lot of parts with some small tweaks and the ripple effects of other changes that I've made. So I'm simultaneously doing a lot and not a lot at the same time. Also, you know, the Cloak and Dagger Club is now on NetGalley. I'm trying to come up with a lot of social media posts to try to generate buzz. I just got my 2 blurbs this week, my first 2 blurbs, and that's taking up a lot of my time too. So I'm trying to, like, find time for all of these things, but it is a little bit hard, especially since I also have a full-time job. It's also sometimes hard to find joy and excitement given the times that we're currently living in and all the terrible things that are happening in the United States, the atrocities before our eyes. I did share a resource about how you can contact your representatives on my community tab, and somebody called me psychotic and said he was going to unfollow me, which honestly, like, I don't care. Like, bye, you can go. But ultimately, like, if I want to share my beliefs and my morals, I'm going to do that. And it is sometimes hard to feel motivated when there's all this stuff going on and sometimes you feel like you're powerless. But the thing is that we should all remember that we're not powerless. We all have voices that we can use to speak, and we can always share resources, contact the people who are supposed to be representing us. Like, your senators and your representatives, they represent you. Even if they're not from the same political party as you, their job is to represent all of their constituents. So if you have an opinion, it is totally within your right to give them a call or send them an email and say, hey, I feel very strongly about this issue. And even if you feel like your representatives aren't going to listen to you, hey, you can call them and make them listen to the sound of your voice, okay? all of this to say, I feel like this is a stressful time with a lot going on. And it's so weird because I feel like I am making progress, but also like I have so much left to do on this revision. I do feel like this latter half of the book is not going to be as, not bad. I was going to say as bad, but as it's not going to need as many edits as the front half is. I'm now at 42,000 words out of like 90. So I don't think there are as many changes needed in this half, but there are some scenes that while my agent did not have any specific issues with those scenes, because of the changes I made in earlier scenes, I now need to add some stuff or rewrite some stuff to those just for continuity's sake. I'm going to try my best. That's all you can do. I really intended to get a lot of editing done today, and that didn't happen. I went for a walk earlier, and then when I came back, I saw the news and basically spent hours being pissed off. I've honestly been enraged every single day since January 7th. And, you know, I just wanted to write a book about the 1930s. I didn't want to live through them. And it's really hard to come on here and smile and be like, buy my book. I'm going to try to get some writing done now so that there was actually something productive that I did today, and try to regroup tomorrow, get back on track. I still have, little less than 50,000 more words to go. So still not quite halfway there. But today was just, I think saying it was not a good day is an understatement. It was absolutely enraging, maddening, sickening day. To be honest, the thought of like coming on social media right now and trying to promote my book is like unfathomable to me. All of the things going on in my life seem so trivial by comparison to what is going on in America and what's happening before our very eyes. But I'm going to try to be somewhat productive today and live my life. I'm gonna try and exercise because there is a chapter that I've been working on in editing where I feel like it just has too many lines of dialogue, and I need to add some more internality to it to make it flow better and just have more depth. So I printed it out, and I'm gonna try an exercise where I highlight every single line of dialogue, and I bet the page is gonna be like highlighted all over. And then I'm gonna try to just flesh it out a little more. Honestly, in my experience with writing, 9 times out of 10, let's say, when I feel like there's a scene that's not working, it's because it needs more internality. So that's gonna be my task for the day. Something small, doable, manageable. And I'm gonna go out to a coffee shop, I think, so that I can get out of my house and force myself to get some work done. Now 48,000 words into the revision, so making progress. I'm now kind of facing an issue because, like I said in my last vlog, there was one plot element that was not totally working with the revised order. Basically, in the previous draft that I had, there's a point fairly early on in the book where my characters learn this thing, they build a theory around that thing, pursue that theory, it doesn't go anywhere, and then later that thing comes back up again and they learn it does mean something or it does lead somewhere, just not what they originally thought. And with this revised order, it hasn't been brought up yet, but I'm now at the part of the book where the thing does have payoff. Hopefully this makes sense. I'm explaining it vaguely. So I could just drop it in now, but then the payoff for the thing would be basically immediate. And I don't know if that would really be satisfying to introduce something and then have the payoff come immediately after. So I think my two options are to just very much in passing mention the thing earlier in the text, or two, to mention it earlier in the text and actually include that false train of thought that I had before. I'm kind of inclined to do the former because I know my word count is going up, and so I don't necessarily want to, add even more word count by putting that thing back in. But I just feel like it would not really work to say, hey, we also have this, and then immediately have the payoff. I feel like the reader should sit with it like a little while longer and then later have it be brought up again. So that is where I'm at in this draft. I also was sent by my editor the current past pages that the production team was working on for the Cloak and Dagger Club. My agent asked her if we could see them just to confirm that they made all of my changes. And I was able to catch two very minor continuity errors. And she confirmed that the production team will fix them for me. They're getting fixed, so that's good. I won't have to lose any sleep over that. They were very, very minor things, but if we didn't fix them, it would have bothered me because I would have known. I also found out that another author has agreed to read and potentially blurb my book, which is super exciting. I was honestly really freaking out in the beginning, worried that people weren't interested in blurbing my book and thinking maybe I'm not gonna have enough blurbs. But now, about a month out from the blurb deadline, like people are coming in clutch. So I think it's gonna be good. I'm really excited to see who delivers a blurb and what's potentially gonna happen there. Hello, it is now February 5th. Have not updated the blog for a while. So to say where I'm at, I'm 63,000 words into this 5th draft now. So making good progress. My draft is due to my publisher on April 1st, and I do want to give it back to my agent before then. So my hope is to be done this round of edits this month. This is my birthday month and I am going on a birthday trip. So ideally I would like to finish it before my trip. I always have a really hard time when I come back from a vacation or any kind of writing break. I have a really hard time psyching myself back up to get back to writing. So if I can finish it before the trip, that would be ideal because then that's not going to be a problem for me. And of course, I want to make sure that my agent has time to read and give me any additional notes that she has. I don't want to give it to her a week before the deadline and be like, hey, can you read this in the next 2 days and give me the feedback? Obviously, I want to give her time to read and me time to make any additional tweaks I need to make based on what she says. I do think if I work really hard and stay dedicated, I can do it. I have been working on the book almost every day this week. There was, I think, only one day in the past 7 days that I didn't do something for it. So that's the energy that I need to keep up. And hopefully I'll be done before my birthday trip. And then I can just go on my trip with nothing on me, nothing weighing me down. Yeah, and God knows that I need a trip after how stressful January turned out to be. For my New Year's resolution, I told myself that I was going to be more positive. I was going to manifest success. I was going to manifest abundance. I was going to work on meditating and being a more positive, less anxious person. And January said, I bet, because it was a really stressful month and I was straight up not having a good time. So let's hope that February is better. I don't know. Morning. It is still the morning for another 24 minutes, but don't have any plans today. Going to stay home and try to continue working on my draft. I've gotten to another point in the book where I think I need to really do some tweaks, and I guess I'm gonna try to keep going straight ahead and not like doubling back to earlier things, because there's a part that I already edited that I think still needs to be finessed slightly, but I don't know. I kind of feel like continuing to move forward and not go back is going to be better for me. Now, one thing that I still have totally not figured out is what to do with the book within a book elements like the Cloak and Dagger Club. I want this book to have some mixed media elements, excerpts from fictitious books, newspaper articles, etc. And as I mentioned before, my agent feels like the book within a book parts in this book, it was a confusing sentence, are not working. She feels like the placement is off and potentially the content could be tweaked. And I don't really know what to do about that, because to me, I clearly I had an intention for why I put them there, but that intention is clearly not coming across because to her it wasn't working, so clearly it's not effective. But I had an idea where I thought I could go through this arc and write down where each mixed media element is in here to see how I spaced it in here, because clearly in here my agent liked the spacing and thought it was effective, but she said she felt in this book they needed to be farther apart. So I think I'm going to take some notes and kind of do like a one-to-one comparison and see what I think about that. All right, it is now a few hours later. I got through almost 3,000 words of editing. I was at a part where I had to rewrite a lot of stuff, so it did take a while, but I think it should be a little easier from here on out. There is like another part that I definitely have to edit. The rest of the book might be fine, other than some very minor tweaks potentially. And then I have to backtrack to some earlier parts that I'm now kind of second guessing. But here's the list of mixed media elements that I did. And if you look at both the Cloak and Dagger Club and book 2, they both have almost the exact same number of mixed media elements. The first book has 9, I think, and this one has 8. So it's not an issue of one having many more than the other. I think the issue is that in this draft, you can see that there are these 3 mixed media elements in the middle that are all clustered so close together. And then there is an almost 100-page break before we get one again. So I really think those in the middle need to be moved around and separated a little bit more so they're not coming one on top of the other. I think that I can tweak them a little bit to make it more obvious what I was trying to parallel with the excerpts, and I wonder if one should be moved to almost at the end of the book, because currently the last mixed media element we have is on page 294, and the book continues for like still another 50 pages after that, I think. So I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. I really think that if I can move around these 3 clustered so closely together in the middle, that's going to make a big difference. Because if you look at the excerpts that are in the Cloak and Dagger Club, you can see the spacing is pretty even and pretty consistent. So I think that is probably making for a more satisfying reading experience than this current work in progress, where some of them are really close together. The good news, I got to the end of my draft today. Feel like it didn't need a lot of edits to the end, so most of that just like stayed the same with no changes. The bad news is this means now I need to figure out my mixed media elements, and I'm still not entirely sure about it. You know, the version that I gave to my agent, I did have a logic for what each one was trying to achieve and why I put it where I did, which clearly wasn't effective because my agent didn't like it. But now I need to figure out new places to put them and how I can make the parallels more clear and effective. And I'm struggling with it a little bit because the ones in the middle, like I said, I did that exercise, and I think the issue was that some of the ones in the middle were so close together. But now I need to try to find other places for them that are a little more spaced out, and I don't know. Like, I kind of feel that they made more sense where they originally were, but they're so close together, and I mean, clearly my agent didn't pick up what I was putting down, so I guess it wasn't working, but I don't know. I don't know what exactly to do instead, and I'm gonna try to figure it out before I go on this trip. My printer got a workout today because there was one seam I wanted to go back and tweak. So originally my mom printed it out for me with her suggested changes, and then after I fixed it, I printed it out, the new version, for her to read and give me the thumbs up. This was the one seam that was still kind of bothering me, where I felt like it just wasn't really working, and I felt like I needed to tweak some of the dialogue rather than being wedded to what I already had from the previous version. So I accomplished this, and I feel much better about it now. There are 3 small tweaks that I want to make, just additional things that I thought of. And then I still need to write 2 more mixed media elements that I'm changing from last time. So currently the manuscript is 92,414 words, which is about, I think, 2,000 more than it was last time, or maybe 1,500. I don't know. So I think at the end of the day, once I make these last changes, it's probably gonna be like 3,000 over what ideally I would like, but that is not a huge deal at this point. Obviously, I can always Obviously, I can always work on word count later and trying to remove things. Also, even though it is currently 2,400-ish words longer than the Cloak and Dagger Club, it is only 3 word pages longer. So that's not too bad. I'm not gonna panic about the word count right now because I can always get my agent or my editor to give thoughts. Maybe they'll say, no, we don't think it's too long, we think it's good. But I may try to look for some of my crutch words, some of my pet words and phrases, and try to delete some of those to make it a little bit tighter before I send it back to my agent. Valentine's Day 2026, and I think I'm done draft number 5. Kind of an anticlimactic finish, but I did everything that I still had on my list, including the revised mixed media elements. I don't know, I hope that these will be more successful. I'm a little bit unsure about them. Obviously, I have a logic for putting them where they are. I had a parallel I was trying to make, and I think the spacing this time is going to be much better because now the spacing between excerpts is a lot even or more close to even. But hopefully my agent thinks they're a success, because obviously that is a cool element of the first book that I want to keep going. And there also are like some articles and stuff in there that do help facilitate the plot and provide information in that way. So hopefully she likes it. The word count ended up being 92,910 words, or 350 pages in Microsoft Word. And I have been keeping track of how many words I've written over the course of the draft. I don't know it off the top of my head, but I will put it on the screen. I feel like it's gonna be a lot because there were a lot of parts that I tweaked or rewrote. I didn't really changed the book in a significant way. It has most of the same essential beats. I just deleted a couple of scenes and added a couple of scenes in instead, but it's not unrecognizable from the previous draft by any means. I think I just made a lot of tweaks to what I already had, moved things around in a different order, like I said, and sometimes I had to change things just because there was a ripple effect from things that I changed earlier. I was worried that I wasn't going to be able to do this before my birthday trip, but my birthday is still, what, 5 days away? And my vacation 2 days after that, and I think I'm done. I did it! Please clap! To my agent, if you're watching this, I hope that you like this draft better and that you think I did a good job. To anybody who watched this entire vlog, please make sure to give it a like so I know that you enjoyed. Let me know how your week is going in the comments, and if you don't know what to comment but you want to show your support, why don't you leave an applause emoji? Please clap for me and my achievement. I am going to have many more videos about my debut novel, The Cloak and Dagger Club, and this sequel in progress. If you want to watch another one of my videos, check out this one where I discuss how I pitched my sequel to my publisher, and subscribe so you don't miss any future updates. You can pre-order The Cloak and Dagger Club or add it to your Goodreads TBR at the links in the description. I'm tired now. So that is going to be the end of this vlog. I love and appreciate you all, and I will talk to you next time. Goodbye.